years, a terror group operating in northeastern Syria was marketed as a democratic force, a so-called partner of the West that also pledged to serve and protect Syrians.
What do you want to call yourself besides the YPG? And with about a day's notice, they declared that they were the Syrian Democratic Forces. I thought it was a stroke of brilliance to put democracy in there somewhere, but it gave them a little bit of credibility.
But behind this Western-backed narrative was a terror campaign that operated for over a decade and was built on weapons, oil, and fear, not governance, service, and democracy. This campaign of terror, fought under the guise of fighting Daesh, brought nothing but destruction to Arabs, Turkmens, and Kurds in northern Syria. To understand the origins of the terror group, we need to go back to 2014, when it was founded as a branch of PKK, which is listed as a terrorist organization by the US, EU, Turkey, and many other countries.
They formally called themselves the YPG, who the Turks would say equated to the PKK. You're dealing with a terrorist enemy of mine. How can you do that ally?
On paper, it looked like different groups. In practice, however, they are the same.
طبعا أنا ذكرت عبارة عن اسم هي أولا قوات بس بالتسمية هي قوات سورية وإنما القيادة بالكامل هي قيادة كردية تتبع لحزب العمال الكردستاني.
YPG came out of various derivatives of PKK. SDF came out of various derivatives of YPG.
Senior YPG figures were trained in PKK camps, while the group's ideology, symbols, and internal discipline followed the same blueprint. The rise of the YPG-PKK in Syria was not organic. It was manufactured.
In 2014, we saw the fall of Mosul. We saw the Yazidi massacre in Sinjar. We saw a number of very big problems in the Middle East. The US and the US-led international coalition saw the YPG as a useful force.
Weapons, training, intelligence, and funding flowed in, primarily from the US and its allies. Over the past decade, the YPG-PKK has become one of the most heavily funded non-state armed groups in the region. According to official US Department of Defense budget documents, Washington allocated between $130 and $156 million per year to the YPG-PKK under the Counter-ISIS Train and Equip Fund. Between 2017 and 2026, cumulative US funding is estimated to be well over $1 billion. Europe has also funneled millions into Syria through stabilization and local governance programs, many operating in areas under YPG control. All this money was neither used for the good of civilians on the ground nor as aid. The money and resources instead went to military financing. But was it really used to fight Daesh? Not really.
But just so you understand, the Kurds were paid tremendous amounts of money, were given oil and other things. So they were doing it for themselves, more so than they were doing it for us.
They're willing to release people who they previously said were their worst enemies for their own reasons, to keep control even over a small amount of territory for whatever reason. But it does not seem, of course, that they want the best for the population if they are willing to release terrorists. It is also true that they made use of ISIS for tactical reasons. They put the people who were with ISIS in control in some form. They allowed them into the mukhabarat, the intelligence services and so forth, and also to have command and at the checkpoints and such.
Beyond foreign funding, the organization built its own shadow economy. Multiple intelligence and academic studies estimate that the group's total annual revenue ranges between 50 and 100 million euros across Europe, accumulated not only through coercive fundraising, but also drug trafficking, human smuggling, and money laundering. But the big chunk of money came from oil fields it captured in Syria.
So the largest oil fields in Syria are in the eastern part of the country and were until last week under the control of the Syrian Democratic Forces, which is led by, again, the YPG. They used this oil, of course, and the proceeds from this oil for their own ends. According to some reports, half of the money was sent essentially to the headquarters in Kandil, and the other half was used by the SDF.
The YPG-PKK terror organization, which has occupied more than 70% of Syria's oil fields, usurps $2.5 billion worth of Syrian oil each year through domestic and international sales, according to sources in the field. And that money did not go to civilians either. It sustained war crimes and mass detention instead.
We do know that when I've been there multiple times to Deres, or also in these days, I was there this past week, just directly after the territory was taken by the central government. What we see is essentially dilapidated buildings. There's almost no rubbish collection. Schools, very few schools, and they're quite bad. According to the local population, many people stopped sending their children to school years ago because they simply didn't learn anything. In terms of services, the SDF did not provide almost anything to the population, and it is, again, a very oil-rich area. The Arab majority areas of the part under their control, the part of the country which was under their control until these past days, has the most oil in Syria. So clearly they were using it for something, and it wasn't for the local population. That much we know.
A 2024 Amnesty International report found the YPG-PKK was holding more than 56,000 people in custody, including 30,000 children across at least 27 detention sites and 2 camps. Detainees were held in inhumane conditions and subject to torture, including beatings, electric shocks, and gender-based violence. Thousands were forcibly disappeared, women were separated from their children. This is where the terror money went. To make the picture clear, let's draw a comparison. With just 1 year of combined foreign funding and illegal revenue, roughly $2 billion, the region controlled by YPG-PKK could have benefited from 100 universities educating tens of thousands of students, 240 modern hospitals and health centers, hundreds of thousands of kilometers of roads connecting cities and villages, clean water systems for millions, thousands of schools instead of tunnels. The resources were there, but the people were never the priority. With the scale of funding YPG-PKK received, both foreign and illicit, the region could have moved into genuine recovery after Daesh's territorial defeat in 2019, years before the fall of the Assad regime in 2024. Instead, those resources were channeled into expanding control through fear. For decades, more than 300,000 Kurds in Syria have lived without citizenship or basic rights. Yet despite its rhetoric of protection, the YPG did little to secure or even promise legal recognition or a stable future for these stateless communities. In pursuit of a population loyal only to its doctrine, the group systematically displaced Arab, Turkmen, and dissenting Kurdish communities, reshaping the region's demographics by force. The lack of development wasn't due to the absence of resources, illegal or otherwise, but rather was a deliberate choice made by the terror group that prioritized its own gains over Syrians' welfare, control over coexistence, and division over development, all in vain and only to be sidelined by the very power that supported it.
There's only going to be one nation state that we're going to deal with, and that's the government of Syria.